Welcome to the Exponential Edge podcast with your host, Arya Sulur. I'm excited to have you join me on this journey, exploring the forefront of technological advancements and innovation that will shape our future. As a junior at Acton-Boxborough Regional High School in Massachusetts and the CEO of SecArmor, a cybersecurity startup, I'm fascinated by the transformative power of technology. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into 5 key areas that are poised for exponential growth in the next decade. We'll be exploring the realms of cybersecurity, generative AI, sustainability and climate tech, biotech and human longevity, as well as the reshoring of manufacturing. And we'll also go over rising startups disrupting the marketplace. These topics and businesses hold immense potential to revolutionize our world and redefine the way we live, work, and interact. Each episode will feature insightful conversations with experts, thought leaders, and visionaries who are at the forefront of these fields. In just 30 minutes, our goal is to provide you with 5 signature nuggets of wisdom from our guests. These key takeaways will empower you with knowledge and help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technological landscape. Without further ado, let's introduce our guest for this week. Hi everyone, today our guest is Ned Walker, CEO and co-founder of HotGiggity. Hi Ned, how's it going?
Aria, I'm well, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.
Of course. So first off, I know you've done many things in your career. You're a musician, you worked in e-learning, and you started your own company, HotGiggity. So could you just give us a brief summary of your career thus far?
Sure. So, I have, as you mentioned, I've had a few different areas that I've sort of focused on over the years. But my background, I did a commerce degree, majored in marketing and info systems. I've also been a professional musician since 1994, so giving my age away a bit there. Music's been part of my entire life. So I started, my grandfather got me into music, playing the piano, and then I moved on to saxophone and guitar and a few other instruments. A common story, played in bands throughout uni, sort of paid my way through uni with doing covers gigs. And then while sort of keeping a music career going, I was then working in sales and marketing roles for various companies in Australia. I also played in a band that then we focused on originals, and we won a national radio competition here in Australia called Triple J Unearthed. So that was a great experience. We got to tour all around Australia, toured the States.
That's awesome.
Supported the likes of Blondie and a lot of big Australian touring bands at the time. We got signed to US management as well, so that was a really good time. Had a lot of great experiences. I spent some time in London after that band, where I launched a little solo career as well. Mainly acoustic, sort of singer-songwriter genre. Was also working, as you mentioned, in the e-learning space, in a sales and marketing capacity. So I've been around, I guess that was an e-learning tech startup, really. They were teaching the international baccalaureate curriculum online. So I've been around that sort of tech space for quite some time. And then also, my skill sets in marketing and sales, etc., and music, sort of led to, or fit perfectly with this new project I'm doing, HotGiggity. So, HotGiggity sort of came about in 2015 when we started the project, when I came back from London. So, it's been a good journey of getting exposure to a lot of different sort of skill sets. As I mentioned, the marketing, sales, and the technology startup side of things, which all lend very well to the project I'm on now.
Yep, that's awesome. So obviously you've been through a lot of different areas and fields, and the focus of your company is pretty special to me as well, since I'm a musician and that's a huge part of my identity as well. I play violin, guitar, trombone. So yeah, that's awesome. And could you just give our listeners a little overview of what HotGiggity is, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Who your primary customers are, any specific problems that the platform is meant to solve?
Yeah, sure. So being a professional musician for as many years as I have, and I also, while in London, I missed out there that I also ran a very small boutique agency. So mainly booking some of my musician mates into venues. So I guess I understand the problems that are inherent in the industry, and so we basically said HotGiggity is a platform to set about solving those issues. So basically, HotGiggity is a software platform that streamlines the booking and promotion of any live entertainment event, and whether that be in pubs, in cafes, in restaurants, festivals, and also it's a platform that brings all of the stakeholders in the industry onto the one platform. So we've got we're solving problems for artists, we're solving problems for agents and managers, we're solving problems for venues, even private hirers, and also with for the music fan. So one of the things that a frustration that sort of led to a part of our product, which is our HotGiggity Live Gig Guide app, was that as a music fan myself, our research showed us that there are not a lot of the venues didn't have up-to-date gig guides on their website, or they weren't promoting their gigs in a consistent way. So we see HotGiggity Live as a way for music fans to be able to find live entertainment that's happening. Not necessarily a massive ticketed gig, but the small little gig that might be happening down in the pub on the corner. So that aspect, the promotional side of things, is something that we really focus on. But some of the key problems when you look at when you're booking live entertainment. So if you're an artist, for example, finding representation might be one problem. Finding an agent or a manager. If you're an agent or a manager, finding talent to grow your roster. If you're a venue, similarly, finding suitable talent that's you might have a specific genre you're looking for, or you might have a specific lineup, or a soloist, etc. So that's one of the problems we address. One of the other key problems is communication. So when without the existence of these sorts of platforms, that communication might happen via Facebook, it might happen via email. Sometimes you get text messages, WhatsApp. So you've got all these different messaging platforms that people use, and so we're looking to streamline that and make HotGiggity a place where all the messaging, all of your communication happens through that platform. Another issue we were solving for venues is often, from the calendar management side of things, and for agents as well. The instance of double bookings. There have been a few times in my career where I've turned up to do a gig, and I should point out that in Australia, one of the markets that we're addressing first is what we call the covers market. So that's somebody sitting in the corner playing Brown Eyed Girl or Oasis or whatever it might be. So that's the market that we have focused on initially, because of the fact that there are so many more of those gigs happening in pubs around, particularly Australia and the UK, from my experience over there. So double bookings were often an issue. So there's a calendaring system that manages all of that. And then from the administration point of view, things like worksheets, contracts, invoicing, we wanted a system that brought all of that onto the one platform as well. So our platform manages the worksheets and contracts, and also automates invoicing. Artists are typically not the best at admin and invoicing. I've got one scenario where, for example, prior to HotGiggity, I play in a band. We'd go and do a gig, and I'd be chasing the drummer for an invoice 3 months later. I'm sure not an uncommon scenario. So HotGiggity solves
drummer,
that.
right?
Yeah, exactly. HotGiggity solves that problem with automated invoicing. And then on the promotion side of things, one of the key things we learned when talking to a lot of venues is that things like social media posts or updating the website or, in venue promotions, often if there wasn't a dedicated person doing that role within the business, which often in a venue there's not, those things seem to get left, and not consistently updated. So HotGiggity provides solutions to automate a lot of that promotion functionality for them. So, some big time savings for venues as well. So, so there are a few of the problems. We've also, from the artist perspective, we're focused on trying to create a community and a network of artists, so that if for example you're in a band and your bass player's sick, that there's the option to jump on the platform and try and find a bass player that's available for a particular gig. So that's a little bit of an overview of what the platform is and the problems we're trying to solve, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So really, you're just a connection between these artists, venues, agents, and people or fans, right?
Absolutely.
That's what you're aiming to be.
Yeah.
So, and you also talked about starting out in London, and I know you have extensive experience in the live entertainment industry. I know you were a pianist at Soprano's Pizzeria in Kensington,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed, I was.
So, could you talk about some of the challenges that you personally faced when transitioning into making HotGiggity and the difficulties that you faced when starting up?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously with any startup, it's about, addressing a problem in a specific market. And then, at the time when we started, there weren't a lot of these platforms out there. So we kind of had a bit of a jump. But there's obviously a lot that goes into any startup. There's the research phase, there's the planning phase, there's the speccing the product out. And then, of course, one of the big hurdles is, getting that initial investment to actually build the product. Because, with a platform like HotGiggity, it is a big product, and it has taken, took some time to get built.
Mm-hmm. I've seen the interface. It's actually amazing. How much detail and effort it looks like was put into it.
Thank you, mate. So so that process of just going out and talking to different investors, refining the pitch, making sure that you're hitting all the points that the initial investors are going to want to hear. Having that process of producing a really robust business plan that you can talk to when you're talking to these investors. So I'll be the first to say we didn't nail it on the first attempt. But we got there. And one of the key things I found really helpful is just talking to people that have been there and done this before. So, getting into networks that where people have that experience and can guide you, and whether it's going as far as having an official business mentor, that I would sort of recommend as well. And then obviously one of the other issues that we faced was not the scope expanding so much, but just the timeline. They often say in tech, if you think it's going to take 6 months, double it, or whatever length of time you think it's going to take in developing a product, potentially double it. And so we did have some of those time overrun issues. So that was a bit challenging. And then, of course, we launched officially. We started our sort of beta product launch in about 2018, and by 2019 we were up and running. And then, of course, March 2020, COVID came along and stopped everything for some time. So I think that point of just also being resilient, being prepared for changes. So
of course.
So that was a particularly challenging period, but we got through it, and the product is still alive and kicking and improving every day. So that's something I'm really proud of. So
Yep. And you guys are also on the verge of expanding to the UK and USA foreign markets, right? So
Absolutely.
could you tell us about these expansion plans too? And any differences or similarities in like the geographical differences in your product?
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, I've the vast majority of my experience in the music industry as such has been here in Australia, but I did spend 7 years in the UK, and our markets are very similar, the UK and
Mhm.
Australia. Um, as you mentioned, I was doing gigs over there as well. I did covers as a resident piano man in a piano bar in
Yeah.
Kensington,
Mhm.
um, which was a lot of fun, by the way. One of my favourite gigs that I've ever done, I
Yeah.
think.
Mhm.
Um, so there are similar amounts of, and I guess a split of covers gigs in the UK versus original gigs. The UK probably have, just because of their sheer volume and the population size and the number of venues, and as I mentioned at the start, we're not necessarily just about big ticketed shows or ticketed shows. It might be original shows that are happening in smaller venues. So there are a lot more of those smaller venues that are putting on original shows
Yep.
in the UK. But
Mhm.
other than that, our markets are very similar. Um, as for the states, their market again similar. They have a slightly different vernacular when it comes to covers versus what is a cover
Mhm.
band versus what is a
Yeah.
tribute show, etc. It's slightly different, but still very similar. So the markets are very similar. Obviously, the market sizes are greatly different. So Australia is a very small market in comparison to both of those. So that's obviously where we want to be from just a volume perspective. Um, as for the product itself, we have, as with any sort of SaaS platform, you have to look at localization. Things like accounting or details are slightly different in each of the regions. Banking details are slightly different in each of the regions.
Mhm.
So, and the way they treat, GST or
Yep.
tax, sales tax, etc., are treated differently. So we're approaching those differently. Um, One of the other things is looking at different integrations for different markets. So that's something that we will be looking at as well.
Yep.
But as for the actual, the industries themselves, they're very similar, across the
Mhm.
three different regions that we're looking to target.
Mhm. And you guys can kind of compare to other Australian startups that have seen success, right?
Yep,
Like Canva, Atlassian, and Airwallex, just to name a
yep.
few, right? And are there any lessons from their journeys that you've taken to heart and that you're implementing in your spread?
Yeah, sure. But I hope we can be as successful as the likes of Canva one of these
Yeah.
days. Yeah, that's a great success story to reference.
Mhm.
I think one of the key things for us in our expansion plans, and particularly moving to different regions, is strategic hires and making sure that we're looking at choosing the right people, not only
Mhm.
from
Definitely.
a cultural fit and a knowledge base, but you know they need to be strategic hires of people that are going to bring real value to the business. Um, Also, things like, as I mentioned just previously, integrations. So making sure that our product seamlessly fits with a lot of the different, software packages that are commonly used in these different regions. So I see that as an important thing when moving into other markets. As well, strategic partnerships. So that's something
Exactly.
that, I think we're going to look to be, well, we are going to be looking to leverage. Um, yeah, and that is basically looking at ways that we can leverage partnerships for greater distribution a lot faster. Um, and that's one of those that ties in with the strategic hires as well. Looking at getting people on board that can facilitate those strategic partnerships in those
Mhm.
regions.
Yep. And you talked about these strategic partnerships. Both Canva and Atlassian both had really great partnerships. Canva with like pretty much every social media,
Yep.
and Atlassian with Slack, most
Yes.
notably. So one thing that they also did was they gave out a little freemium model, right?
Sure.
So were you thinking of doing that? I just wanted to know.
Yeah, sure. So our model is a freemium version for the artists. So yeah, the bulk of the functionality in our platform for artists is free. There will be a pro plan, which will bring additional features, additional integrations, additional, I guess, visibility on the platform. So there are a few things still in the works there. As for the agents and the venues, there are tiered subscription models. A big difference in our business model is that we're not a commission-based business. We're a SaaS platform, and as such, it's a fee per month style
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
subscription model. So there will be different levels of plans that an agency can sign up to, and obviously, as with most SaaS platforms, the higher the plan, the more functionality, the more integration, etc. So that's how we're approaching things from that sort of, I guess, business model perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
and just on
moving
the
forward,
on that integrations point. Sorry, Ari, we are looking to integrate with many more platforms at the moment. On the social side, Facebook, Instagram's being built as we speak.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, things like Google Calendar integration, and there will be integrations with the other calendars. Accounting package integrations such as Xero, MyOb, and as we move around, we'll look around to different regions. We'll look to integrate with more and more solutions. So Canva, as you mentioned, mate, it's a great example. They've got that app store where they integrate with so many different apps now. And yeah, I think it's a very smart way to go, obviously.
And it's a really smart way, like you said, to just get exposure and up your user base.
Absolutely.
So, just moving forward, in today's era of AI and technology, I know we've talked about AI and technology a lot on this podcast. Um, could you share any insights into how HotGiggity is planning to leverage these AI tools in the future?
Yeah, sure. Not wanting to give too much away, obviously, because we want to keep a few secrets until they're out of the box. But
Yep.
yeah, we are definitely looking at AI not, in a couple of different ways. From a content writing perspective for the promotional side of things, that's something we're looking to integrate some AI chat style functionality. But we're also looking in a few other areas. Ways that we can use leverage AI to reduce administrative type tasks, and the
Yep.
platform in its very essence is designed to reduce admin pretty significantly for all of the stakeholders. But we can see that AI can help that even further. So those are some things we've spec'd out and are on the roadmap to be built. But it's going to be a bit of a watch this space, mate. I don't want to give the game away too much. And then from a fan perspective, in our HotGiggity Live Gig Guide app, there are some elements there that we potentially will look at for AI style functionality, I guess you'd call it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you guys are really thinking about using AI to improve the user experience for all of your clients.
Yep, absolutely.
So HotGiggity aims to make the live entertainment more accessible for all hirers, right?
Yep.
So could you share some success stories that you've gone through in the 7 years, was it 8 years?
Yeah, it's been a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's been essentially 2 launches. We launched pre-COVID, and then COVID stopped. Put a pause on things for quite some time, and so we feel like we're in our second launch phase now, which has been roughly 18 months. So the platform so far has facilitated over 12,000 bookings, which is something I'm really proud of. And so that's a lot of minutes of music being played out there. And the growth has been fairly organic. As a startup, we're not at this point spending a ton of money on marketing, but so that's something I'm really really proud of. From the I guess the fan experience, not just the hire experience. We partnered with a music festival and conference over here called Big Sound, which is one of the most popular music conference and festivals in the Southern Hemisphere. And we provided them with the live gig, a white labeled version of our of our live gig guide app. So our gig guide was the festival gig guide. And that saw about 1,300 downloads in over the course of the 3-day festival. So, so that again was a little milestone that we were quite proud of. And yeah, obviously we just want to grow that number. And yeah, for us, it's about making live entertainment and the booking of live entertainment more accessible. So that's when I mentioned at the top. It's not for us. It's not just about a live music venue that might want to put on have regular live entertainment. It might be that there's a private hire that's looking for a musician for a party or a wedding or so there's that element, and giving artists more opportunities to play. That's I guess where what the business is all about. Me being a musician for so long, it's I know it sounds cliched, but it is a genuine passion of mine to try and improve this industry as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah.
And
that's the really awesome part, that you guys are really driving people back to these local venues for live entertainment, which has kind of been, the desire for that has kind of been decreasing in the last decade. But you guys are really like a think global, listen local sort of company, and
absolutely
that's the best part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mate. I think that it's really important to obviously know your market, and know the problems. And I think one of the key differences with our business is that it has been from the ground up, built by somebody who's essentially myself. And I did have a business partner earlier in the project, very close mate of mine, Todd, who through COVID decided that that he was going to be a silent partner essentially. But he and I have been in the industry for a long time, and so the business was born from the industry, built by entertainers for the entertainment industry. So we have a really in-depth knowledge of the market here in Australia, definitely, and the industry. But our research has shown that those problems exist, in other markets as well. But yeah, that as you mentioned, listen locally and understand those problems, how to address them, and then look at once you've got the solution, look at expanding. So we've definitely seen Australia as a place to, I guess, test the product really, as a good test market, refine the product, and then, as you mentioned, look at those expansion plans.
Mm-hmm. So you've gone through your career, you've gone through your passion for music, how you started your company, even your entrepreneurial spirit, per se. Right. So just to end us off, could you give our viewers and young listeners your 5 key takeaways from our conversation today to help with their entrepreneurial spirits?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll break it down into 2 parts. From a product point of view, and then B, from a personal point of view, I guess. So if we start with the product point of view, we just covered a little bit of this, but know your market, have a genuine problem that you're solving, be customer centric in when you're solving that problem. So make sure you're doing your research, you're talking to stakeholders, you understand, and that this tool that you're building, or this solution that you're building, is going to actually address those problems. Be prepared to make changes. Improve the product with feedback. I think that's really, really important. And if you're really wanting, it depends on what each person's definition of success is. But if you're looking to be a multinational SaaS platform, make sure that you build something that is scalable. Obviously, that's something that's a no-brainer. From a personal point of view, I think something that has been, from my experience anyway, be resilient. As there's going to be changes. COVID, hopefully we never have another one of those. But there are going to be setbacks. There's going to be delays. There's going to be unexpected things that come up unexpectedly. So being resilient, massively important. I think being flexible as well. Know that sometimes you might have to pivot, and sometimes the direction you thought you were going in, you might have to take a slightly different path. So being flexible. Know that it's going to be a massive amount of work. And I remember, when I came into this, I had some other friends that had done tech startups that said, "Man, this is going to be the hardest journey of your life." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm not shy of hard work. I'm used to long days of working long days." Working in a tech startup, especially one that's in its infancy, is a lot of hard work. So be prepared for that. And I'm probably talking, a lot of people would expect that, but and the other thing, I guess, is don't give up. If you've got the dream and you really believe in the product and what you're in your mission, and that I think is also very important. Having a very clear mission of this is what we're doing here. That's I think you don't fail unless giving up is a surefire way to fail, right? Yep. So that would be my other takeaway. Just don't give up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for those, and thanks so much for joining us today on the Exponential Edge podcast. And for our viewers, thank you for watching, and tune in next week to hear more about trends, businesses, and people that will see exponential adoption in the future. Thank you, Ned.
Thanks, Aria. Great to chat to you, mate.
Yep. Bye.